Our crowds were really made up of the youth program and all the parents involved in that.
Continue to add to it and chip away at it, and we got things rolling.
Well, it just has a very strong tradition and really a great program.
Every team that had been here within a 4-year period, starting early 80s, I think, had been to the NCAA tournament.
There are only so many schools that are really soccer schools. And a soccer school is one, where they treat your program like a sport emphasis. On this campus, in the fall, soccer is everything.
When the program started in 1974, there was no soccer environment. So we got into a fundraising mode, and we were able to raise money through a number of corporate sponsors, through a number of individuals. We started a Soccer 100 Century Club, and we got up to where we were raising enough money to where we could fund the program, at least for the first couple of years. And then as time went on and we began to have some success, we then were able to work our way into the athletic budget.
I think the connection with Dr. Beath has just been really kind of the string that ties everything together. He started it and he stuck with it. He's still here today. He has so many experiences that he can share upon every level that this program has been through, that it makes him just such a, almost like a divine being in our program.
I think my favorite memory has to revolve around Fred Schmaltz and some of the great teams that he had. And the year that we were ranked number 1 through most of the year, that was just a fantastic time. I remember playing UCLA here on campus during the NCAA tournament. And I remember the week before the game was announced like on a Sunday. Monday I showed up at the university as early as I could because I wanted to buy 10 tickets. And I was afraid if I didn't get here on Monday morning to buy those tickets, they'd be sold out.
Well, you'd always hope for winning games and having that create other things and create fan interest and, booster clubs wanting to do it and everything else. And one of the reasons I came here was that there was that kind of atmosphere in the city of Evansville, and that I thought had huge potential, and I'm really, really happy that potential became reality as we went along.
How were you able to expand overseas and get some of those top-notch players to come across to play in Evansville, Indiana?
Well, some of it, I had a couple of assistant coaches, graduate assistants who were British, and also the connection with Harlexton. And at that time, there was a big schools, what they would call a schools festival, which would be like all the top high school kids in the country playing in a tournament over Easter week, and I would go over and watch all the different county teams.
Just the team gelled well together and built on the experience of being in the NCAA tournament a couple years before, and we just had a great season. We were undefeated going into the tournament. We were the team to beat, and like any good team, you've got the right people in the right positions, the right leader and the coach, and it just was a great experience. Worked out well.
In '96, I was actually had redshirted. I had knee surgery, so I was part of the program, wasn't part of the team that year, but it was that was a good group of players that we had. We had C.W. Raines, Jose Landano, Sean Byer. I can remember I wasn't with the group because they were in Omaha playing against Creighton. We were listening. Thank goodness we have WUEV at that time. Was it wasn't on the internet then, but we could listen to it on the radio. And I'm dating myself a little bit, but it was only 1996. We were listening to it. I was listening to it with Steve Nugent and Carlos Chelis. We were listening in the dorm room, and I think, playing every play on our mind as we heard it on the radio. For the amount of time you invest, it's always nice to have that moment. It's not really a ring or a championship. It's the moment. I'll remember being in the room with Steve and Eho, as we called him at the time. And I'm sure the guys can remember the field and everything else that happened when the whistle blew and we won that conference championship in '96. I think being part of an alumni from the University of Evansville is a special thing. Not only the university but the soccer program, because You know, you always talk about with our guys, this is our fraternity, it's our group of friends, and you know, the level of commitment we have from our alumni and our guys see them around quite a bit. They know that people are interested, people are there to try and help them, and they also know that people are there. It's important, you know, and I think that's something that it kind of pushes our guys a little bit.
Getting a chance to work here for 2 years as an assistant coach under Coach Schmaltz gave me an appreciation for the program and what it stands for. Getting the chance to then go to work at Duke University for 4 years, you know, probably heightened my own personal expectation of what I expect out of a program. And, you know, as happy as I was and our family was, you know, in North Carolina, the chance to come back here to work in this program was like a line from The Godfather. It was like an offer you couldn't refuse. It's a program that has had so much success, not just regionally, nationally. You know, I think everyone associates outside of this area the name of the University of Evansville, the Purple Aces, with Aces soccer. You know, I was recruiting in Seattle, Washington, my first year here as a head coach, wearing an Aces polo shirt. And I was stopped in the airport. Someone poked me in the shoulder and was like, you know, are you with the Aces? You know, Aces soccer? So immediately they associated the Aces with a soccer program. And our guys come here with such a high standard placed on them. And, you know, if you walk down our Hall of Honor and, you know, you see the great faces and names of Aces past, it's easy to see, you know, who they're playing for. And, you know, they play for our community. They play for, you know, our student community. But for the most part, they play for the tradition and try to uphold for our program.
Well, I think in some ways you know, he was always a good player. If we would have taken at the time they left school and asked anyone that had seen the team, anyone within the team, who would have the best chance of being a long-serving pro, I don't think the consensus would have been David Weir. So there might have been some Graham Merriweather votes, or maybe a Tim Ernst or a Scott Cannon or something like that. But and Davey would have, you know, been considered. But the stuff he has done has just been one great step after the other. I mean, he's played in the World Cup. He's played, what, 68 times or 70 times for Scotland.
You know, I think the reputation of Aces teams were always not only teams that won a lot of games, scored a lot of goals, didn't concede a lot of goals, but I think also the expectation level was they were always very tough physically and very tough mentally. I think you always kind of knew if you were going to play the Aces, whether it was at home or on the road, you had an absolute fight in your hands. The idea of having so many families, former players around is very humbling. You know, I think the idea of knowing that you're in the field, you carry the burden or responsibility of representing so many people. You know, whether it's people following us here at the games in the stadium, via satellite, watching us online, or following through email or on TV. You know, the idea that we represent so many people is really humbling. I think that these guys are getting a tremendous experience to, you know, compete against the best teams in the country, to play in an unbelievable venue, travel over the country, you know, compete for a conference championship or a national championship. But even bigger than that, I think we're offering them an experience, you know, that's going to help prepare them for life after soccer.
I think it's helped me a lot with being a leader, helped me working with the team. It's helped me develop a lot of close friendships too, and something I'll take with me for the rest of my life.
I think what really stands out in Evansville as a soccer community and as a university is like the closeness to everyone. There's really not a lot of people that leave this program and don't, you know, pop up somewhere else. Every game that we travel to, we meet an alumni that wants to come back and meet the team or talk about their experience. You have old coaches that stick around that always pop in and would like to say hi, like Fred Schmaltz and Dr. Veith always come in and see how everything's going. There's really like a connection, like a family connection almost, where no one really leaves and everyone generally cares about the team currently.
You know, what I always tell our guys when their careers are over, you know, that when you look back on your playing experience, that you absolutely will remember the teams you beat, playing in front of big crowds. But I think the things you remember more than anything else are the experiences as a group. You know, things you do with your friends, the bus trips, plane trips, being in a hotel, locker room. You know, to me, I think the idea of the family that's, you know, ingrained here in this program, that started long before our staff got here. You know, I think the idea of having a close-knit unit, I think it mirrors the mission statement of the University of Evansville. I think it's something that I think is not uncommon in most teams and clubs here on campus. but I think the soccer program probably separates us from anyone else in the country. I think this intimate setting you have here among other players with their fans, it's like nowhere else in the country.